Life is so good for the soul. Share a moment with a complete stranger or somebody you know. Don't care if you're young or you're old. Sit down and tune into the best show. Lee bringing all the flavor. Interviews getting greater and greater with a nostalgic feel. You know she got the mass appeal. Word up.
Welcome back to Laughter is My Love Language podcast. I am your host, Lily Mason, and this is my personal ode to comedy, where we explore all things comedy and comedy related. And I cannot express my level of elation for my guest today. You've seen him on everything almost, and we'll get into that in a moment. But let me introduce you to Brian Smith, stage name, the Wildcat.
Hey, what's going on?
Welcome.
Everybody?
I'm so happy you're here.
No excitement.
I know.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So we have been like friends. We've been connected for a while, right? The very first time I met you, working with you, we were doing a sketch together.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Fool and Mary Lee.
Yes.
And who else was in that?
Bree was the director.
Bree, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And you played my dad in that.
Yeah, I remember the hat and
yeah,
wow.
And I knew then you were an amazing actor, but that's actually not the first time I saw you.
Okay.
The first time I saw you, I was fairly new to Chicago, but I've been watching Chicago comedy for a while, and I saw you at Jokes and Notes. This was like 2013.
Wow.
I saw you at Jokes and Notes, and I
showed my comedic age.
And I watched you do the "My Mama Said," and like I never forgot that, and like I literally cried laughing that day watching you do that, because the way you like transformed into character was just like very impressive. But then when I got to work with you a year later on that sketch, like it was evident that you are an amazing actor.
Thank you.
As well as an incredible comedic talent. So I want to explore your journey.
All right, let's go then.
Yes. So tell me, how did you? No. Before that, when did you know you were funny? Like, how did you know you were funny?
At an early age, the first thing was just making my mother laugh. If I could make her laugh, then maybe I can get away with some stuff. Try to crack a joke out of a whooping or something. It was a necessity.
Okay.
You know, a lot of inventions come through necessity. But after I did that, got into grammar school, I was basically a class clown turned profession. Just acting up in high school, cracking jokes. I would always crack jokes in like my speech class. You know, we had to do different presentations, and every speech I gave, it was like, all right, this is my moment. What am I gonna do? And we had to do like some type of, not necessarily a show and tell, but it was some type of presentation. So I was gonna make the biggest damn bowl of cereal you ever seen. So I had this big ass bowl. I had the big spoon. I had my cereal. And you know, you in high school, so I got to freeze the milk and put it in my locker, and the milk didn't thaw out. So I'm pouring it, and it's not. So I put the whole thing. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Everybody was busting up, and it was just that feeling. It was like, wow, like everybody likes to laugh, everybody likes to have fun, and then, you know, as most class clowns, it's not just you don't crack jokes at the right time. You crack them when you hear them. So I kept getting in trouble, and my teacher, Miss Grazita, was like, "Look, I can't keep having you disrupt class. You have a talent, so either you can use this talent and join the speech team, or I'm gonna call your mother. And you're gonna sit down." And that was back in the days. Like, no, call the cops.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mother. Like, I can talk to the cops, but I can't talk to her. And I didn't know that they were really giving me a career. Took like second in state. Now the speech team had like 13 different events: original comedy, humorous duet acting, special occasion speaking. So I was doing original comedy, which is similar to stand up. It's a storytelling. I did the story of Rapunzel one year. I did my family reunion with Bill Cosby was my dad and a little kid. So a lot of the things that I was doing in high school, I incorporated into my comedy. The little kid, you know, buying the weed and doing all of that. I did that. My first few years was Bill Cosby, grandma, the little kid. They was all buying weed from me. You know, My grandma wanted something on credit, like, baby, you know I'm good for it. You know, the Geraldine's coming over and she got the grain. Susie's gonna bring the meat. You know they expected me to bring the weed. And it was just all in that. So I incorporated what I learned in high school. By the time I hit the stage, it was like, oh man, how long you been doing comedy? This your first time? Like, yes and no. So it started early in high school, and it was just fun. It was a way of release. I grew up in Harvey, not too far from Chicago. You can call that shit the suburbs if you want. Maybe at some point it had a suburban appeal to it, but now that shit is the south side of the south side. And I would come home from the weekend, doing tournaments on the weekends, and my friends, he got shot, he in jail. So it was a blessing to be taken away from that. Because I had to rehearse. We rehearsed 3-4 times a week. So it started young. By the time I got into the game, it was like, okay, not that this is what I want to do, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
You're calling.
Like, I was one of the funniest guys at CarMax Auto Superstore doing detailing. I'm in the back cleaning cars and cracking jokes. Hey, man, cut off the vacuum, man. Go ahead. So now we ain't really getting the work done because I'm doing the set and I'm roasting the managers. I just couldn't get away from it. So, 2000, around that time, I just kept going to comedy clubs, checking out places. I met Damon Williams. I met Michi Hall. I met Lil Rel.
So can we pause for a second?
We sure can.
Do you remember when your first time actually going up?
Yep. First time on stage, I was at Damon Williams. He had a place called B&J's. It was in Matson, Illinois. They used to call it Razzmatazz. And this was back in the days when you couldn't just go up. You had to go up after the show. For the most part, whoever was the headliner, whoever that was, if we have some time, you can go up after the fact. So you had to follow Deion Cole. You had to follow D. Ray Davis. You had to follow George Wilborn. And I went up and I did my Bill Cosby buying the weed, my grandma and the little kid, and just that flair. It was like boom. And in the back, I met Michi Hall and Lil Rel, and we linked up, and that was it. I was ready to quit my job that night.
So when do you do that?
This was maybe about 6 months, maybe 9 months after doing it. It wasn't an option anymore. Like, I either had to work or I could go on the road. Rel and Meech and them, they ain't really have no jobs, no kids. I came in the game, I already had 2 kids.
Okay.
So I had a level of responsibility that didn't allow me to just branch out and follow my dreams until it made so much sense. About 9 months in the game, maybe 6 months, 6 to 9 months, I took second place in the Miller Genuine Draft Comedy Search. Leon Rogers beat me by 1 point.
Oh, wow.
D.L. Hughley was like, dude, you've been doing comedy 9 months? Like, he was the host. And that was the moment. I was like, yeah, I got to quit. I quit my job. I taped Comic View. I taped Showtime at the Apollo. And once the money started coming in, then it only made sense to keep going.
What were those experiences like? What was Comic View like? What was Showtime at the Apollo like?
I've never been really able to handle that amount of shine and attention. I'm a simple dude. I'm a humble man. And it was fun, but like to this day, when I'm going on stage, before that, my heart is beating. I'm scared as hell. I've been doing this shit 20 plus years. But because I want to have fun, I want to make myself laugh. That level of pressure, I've always put that on myself. I forgot what was the question.
No, because we were talking about Comic View, like what that experience was like.
Yeah,
and so going into that amount of pressure.
That was unreal. This was New Orleans. Bruce was the host, I believe. And this was like, man, I haven't been in the game long enough to even know what's happening at this point. I got my few jokes. I did this one joke where it was like a ghetto ballerina. And it was like, man, I met her. She was so fine. It's like I was in a ghetto ass ballerina, and then the music came. Boom, boom. I used to do before I did it on TV. I used to use A Woman's Worth, Maxwell. So the boom, 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 boom. So they played that, and then I took off my shirt. I got on a pair of long john top, and I took my pants off, and I got on the long john pants, and I like ran across the stage and did this swan dive and jumped and touched my toes like a split in the air, and it was like boom. That moment, like regardless of what I was going through, every time I hit the stage, it goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm at home.
Yeah.
And I can see the people. It's like wow. It's still weird. And you know what I'm talking about. No matter how long you do it, if you have that passion, it's still weird. But that first moment, it was like, okay. In my head, I'm like, there's no looking back after this. Then when it came out, all the reaction, and I'm getting booked everywhere. I got people like got out of jail telling me like, yo, we was locked up, fam. And I saw you do that, man, when you touched your toes, whoop, whoop, whoop. Man, I'm telling you, man, you funny as hell, nigga, you gonna make it. I'm like, I'm glad.